Welcome back to the Big Blue Lifers podcast. I'm Mr. U. That's Jess. We're here to talk all things New York Football Giants. A whole lot to talk about. It's coming close to the end of the season, so everything is getting ready to change dramatically for it. Before we get into all that stuff, man, I want to check on you, brother. How things going over there?
Going all right. Back home for the holidays, as you can see by Eli being back over my shoulder again. That's how you know which house I'm in. So back home for the holidays. Going to be here all week, so that's nice. Not like I haven't been here the past few weekends, just because of other holidays and other things going on, going from feels like Thanksgiving to now has just flown by. So, coming up on the end of the season, and, that means a lot of interesting things are going to be going on for the Giants this offseason.
Yeah, more than I think we've seen in a while in regards to changes and opportunities to be hopeful. We're getting all that stuff now, man. I know we want to kick it off at. I guess we'll just start with the low-hanging fruit, and that's the game against the Vikings. I don't even know who's even favored. I don't even look at that anymore because it kind of doesn't matter. I kind of know where we need to be at the end of the game because of what we're trying to accomplish in the draft. But a lot of things to pick out regarding that game against the Vikings. It was definitely tightly contested because of where I was and because of other obligations. I couldn't even watch any of the game, not one pass. So everything I was catching was highlights and things of that nature. So I do know that we can start off here, man. That was probably our quarterback, his worst game as a pro to date. we can start
you didn't miss a darn thing, my man. You did not miss anything at all. That was a miserable viewing experience. I feel bad for people that decided that, save up their money, go to an NFL game, go see their favorite team, and their favorite team's the Giants, and that's what they got to see. They deserve a refund. Like, good Lord.
Wow.
I mean, first of all, both teams didn't really play well. Okay. Giants defense early on was getting bailed out by drop passes and bad throws by McCarthy. I mean, Paulson Adebo's interception was because it bounced off of the wide receiver's chest. Even Jackson Dart's interception that he threw was, it wasn't the greatest pass in the world, but it was right off Theo Johnson's hands. He easily could have, I say easily, he should have caught the ball, wouldn't have allowed him to get any yak, and he was about to get hit, but hit him in his hands, ball pops up into the air. It was just an ugly game.
Rough game all the way across the board, huh?
The only bright spot was Brian Burns and Abdul Carter. And the Giants could have won the game. Giants could have won the game if Abdul Carter didn't line up offsides because that negated a Javon Holland pick six.
We won it though?
No, I didn't want to win. My hope for the Giants in these last two games is that Jackson Dart returns to form, shines, and we still lose. Makes the Giants even more of a desirable landing spot if it looks like, okay, they got the quarterback, they've got pass rushers, we just need to come in here, fix up some things, add some depth. We've talked about this all year. The Giants have pieces. I don't think Dexter Lawrence has truly regressed. I think for some reason they are just utilizing him weird this year. He's not lining up over the center as much in zero. I've seen him out as like a defensive end almost, like with how far they sometimes line him up. The linebacking core is really weak. They need to do something about that. Obviously, corner is still an issue. We're gonna have to make some. We're gonna have to make some tough decisions in the off season where we're gonna have to let some depth go, probably because we don't have as much cap space. Now, some people are saying that Schoen has completely destroyed the cap. That is not true. We're gonna have to move money around. Some guys are gonna be cut. Some guys are gonna be traded. But there are ways to free up. I think we can free up an extra like $30 to $40 million in cap space to make the re-signings we need to and sign the guy or two in free agency.
Yeah.
But there are going to be tough decisions to be made. And the Giants really the guys on the roster have not helped themselves with their poor play. I mean, Deontay Banks continues to be maybe the worst corner in football, the worst starting corner in football. And he's not even a starter anymore. He just has to because Cordell Flott went down with an injury. I mean, Jesus, we can't even get anybody to stay healthy. Andrew Thomas is done potentially for the year.
You buried the lead on that one because I haven't heard that at all.
Wow. Kayvon Thibodeau's done for the year. We knew that before the game. Our offensive linemen can't stop having babies. Good for them. But John Runyon had to miss the game, so Dart was running for his life. Everything about the game was just painful to watch.
And that wasn't even the last game. It's still
got two more.
That's the part.
And knowing this team, knowing this franchise, we are about to go out on Sunday and beat the brakes off of those. Beat the brakes off the Raiders.
And that's
what it's gonna be. And then we're not gonna get the number. Somehow we're gonna go from 1 to 5. We're somehow gonna fall behind the Jets by winning on Sunday. Like,
wait a minute. Do we know that? That's a big drop.
Yeah, because every team behind us right now has got like the same amount of wins, the 3 wins.
Yeah, that's a big drop. I guess it depends on who the Browns, Jets, and the Titans and the Cards are playing, because I'm not sure we're going to drop down to 5, but I just thought a loss rate at least put us at round 2. I didn't think that we'd fall all the way to 5, because there's an angle for 2 depending on how people view the quarterback position. I know you weren't a big fan of Dante Moore that high in the draft, but if he there's some things that he can do upcoming that can propel his stock, put him in the top 5 potentially, and that could make that a lot more interesting place if we are at 2 in the draft. But you want to be 1. We want to be 1 last year. It didn't work out for us, so I think this is this is where we are right now. That game you witnessed, I didn't get a chance to see, which is I'm kind of grateful. I didn't have to watch that, but this is with all of our starters, right? The ones that were available. What's our approach to going into this game? We know that we have a couple more left. Are we putting the starters out there? Because if you want to go, you have to pick or not.
There is zero chance. Words cannot even begin to express how surprised I would be if fully healthy, like Jackson Dart is fully healthy, and they just put Jameis out there. That's not happening. As much as
Giants player. I'm talking about everybody else. You just talking about one. Yeah. You single out one player.
Maine Illuminar, John Runyon. I don't know if JMS is going to be playing next week because he went down with an injury, and Austin Schlottman had to come in for him. But like Brian Burns, Abdul Carter, Dexter,
we win this game or not?
They're going to go out there. They're going to try to win. They don't care about the draft pick.
What do you want?
Oh, I want us to lose. I want to get the number 1 overall pick. I want to use that to trade with the Jets or the Browns or the Raiders or whomever who's going to want to trade up for a quarterback and just take all the draft assets. I want that to happen, but I can tell you right now with 100% certainty that Mike Kafka and the rest of the organization are going to be going out there on Sunday fully intent on trying to win this game. That is what will happen. Last year, we set the Giants franchise record for most consecutive losses with 10. This loss on Sunday against the Vikings was number 9. If we lose against the Raiders, that ties the record, and then the season finale against the Cowboys would have a chance to set a whole new one. But we are going to be going out there fully intent on trying to win the game. That is what will happen. Every healthy player, every healthy starter will be playing on Sunday. Now, I hope they are smart and that a guy like Andrew Thomas, who it sounds like it was his hamstring, they just shut down for the year, being like, look, even we know this is a lost season. We need you healthy for next year. Focus up on the soft tissue. Don't push yourself. You're done. But if a guy's just a little bruised or banged up, he's playing.
See, here's the thing. See, I hear what you're saying. That's why I asked you specifically.
Yeah.
I'm hearing what the fan base is saying. I know how I feel about it. You know what I'm saying? But this is a peculiar spot for us to be in right here. Because I believe that we actually need the number one pick. The reason why I'm saying that is because what we talked about on multiple weeks about where we are in the draft, the amount of draft capital we have, the lack of comp picks. It's kind of where things are. And on top of that, even though we see a glimpse of the future with some of the players that are on the team right now that we think will be mainstays and part of the brighter future that the Giants are going to have going into next year. But at the same time, we got so many holes to fill. So we know we need draft picks. So that's why I say some Giants fans may not agree, but I say we need that number one pick so that we can be able to trade back and get capital. I know some might say, you know what, we're going to take Reese at 1. Yeah, we need linebacker really bad. We need linebacker for the past 10 years, maybe even a little bit more than that. So we need to have a star at that position anyways. At the same time, you know, the number one pick will get you that. You got to go through you got to wade through no nonsense. You're at the top. You can pick who you want, who you need, who you value at that pick. So picking Reese will solve the problem there, but it won't solve the draft capital problem. So I'm like, so we need number one to have leverage for this. But at the same time, it's like you said, we might go there and beat the brakes off of Las Vegas. It could happen. Or Geno Smith might call this a revenge game in his mind. Or it's moving him off of the team, and he may just come out there and light it up. He has the potential to do that. Don't get it twisted. He can throw for 300, 400 yards. He's done it before. The interceptions are always there, though, but he's done that. Pass yardage-wise, it's not impossible. We got a bottom 5 run defense, which is like, gosh, when did that happen? They got Austin Gentry, who had some big ones yesterday. I mean, can you not see that happening against us easily? I mean, it's not. Gibbs did it. So I know that Gentry, who I think is maybe perhaps less talented than Gibbs, can still do that as well. So we're susceptible in the run defense area. So I don't know how this is going to look, but I'm just asking about the motivation. If our motivation is to win this thing, then we're good with whatever it is. We'll end up in the top 5 picks. I think I asked you this last week, didn't I? Would you be good with a top 5 pick? Would you be okay with that? I don't know how much leverage you have for somebody who wants a quarterback to move up, but we could drop down from a top 5 pick. It's not impossible, right?
Well, I mean, if we go out there and we win, assuming I'm looking at the season predictor going through different scenarios right now. If just the teams with better records all win next week, and then the Giants beat the Raiders, there is still a way to the number 1 overall pick, but we would need some serious help. But if we beat the Raiders next week and every other team that's around us still loses, I think we fall to 3 or 4, something like that. But if we then want to get the number 1 overall pick, the Raiders would have to beat the Chiefs in week 18, and the Browns would have to beat the Steelers in week 18. And then we would get the number 1 overall pick due to tied record and strength of schedule, assuming other things play out the way you would expect them to.
Well, based on the roster changes that are happening in Cleveland, the chances of them beating the Steelers now are almost nothing. I think Jerkins is down, and he may not be coming back for that game. So that's going to be a big problem.
The only thing there is that also DK Metcalf is done for the regular season. His suspension just was announced. Next 2 games, rest of the regular season.
But the only thing about that is that, and this, I'm living in the fantasy world. It's how I know about some of this stuff. But he hasn't been a strong contributor to their offense for whatever the reason is, drop passes, whatever it is. Maybe Rodgers just not looking at him that much, so he doesn't see a lot of targets. So that may be a minimal loss. The Titans and the Saints game is one I think is going to be really interesting because I don't think the Titans are trying to lose any games, even though they're pretty high up in the draft. They went out there and took it to KC. I know they depleted without having Mahomes, but they took it to them yesterday. So them beating the Saints is not impossible. After that, we're talking about the Cards and the Jets. And I'm just trying to see who the Jets are playing the Patriots. I don't see them winning that one.
And then they play the Bills in Week 18. The Jets don't have a winnable. We needed the Jets to beat the Saints this weekend. They couldn't do it.
Yeah,
they're done.
The Cards are playing the Bengals in an away game, so it's like really hard to tell what's going to happen with that one. It could be because Brissett is out here. He's rolling. I think it's like 11 straight games now. He's throwing for over 300 yards. I think it is. So he's out there rolling, and I don't know what kind of Bengals team he's going to see. So a win there helps our cause as well, man. But I guess I don't really know what to expect with this. I think we need to get to the point we are okay with being the top 3, top 5 picking team next year because it could potentially happen. We can go out there. If we got all our starters going, who knows? The Raiders may come out there. We got somebody that can stop Brock Bowers. I mean, anything can happen, in that game. After that, playing the Cowboys, and that's just a game of pride because the Cowboys don't want to lose to us under any circumstance. They put their starters out there if it's week 20. They don't care. They want to make sure that they beat us, especially being their rivals and whatnot in the division. So I don't know. I think if we lose to the Raiders, I think we're gonna be fine. We're staying at the number 1 pick, but Vegas is saying that the Raiders are going to win by a slight margin. I'm okay with that. Whatever. But tell me about how you feel about what you've been seeing with the coaching part, because I know that Cap is fighting for an opportunity. I don't think it's going to happen. I don't think he's a good fit for this. Look like sometimes he's coaching scared. We talked about the past 2 or 3 weeks. It seems to be a lack of competent play calling, lack of creativity from somebody who showed that in KC, but here we've seen it in spots. First drive of the game, I think they were on Minnesota 16, 3 straight running play. I think you alluded to it offline by how this is 1-1 pass situation. They were 4th and goal on the 5-yard line and didn't kick a field goal to tie it up at 3. Call a pass play. Dart got sacked. Change of possession. Ball back to Minnesota. It's just little things like that. It's like, wow. I don't know. When people say, like Malik Neighbor talking about we losing on purpose, I'm like, when I look at what's happening on the field, like it's not. I'm not saying that's true, but I can't really dismiss it so quickly because what we see on the field, like inexplicable. It's like,
it was
why
just
would you do
the
that?
worst game plan I've seen in recent Giants history. Like,
yeah, but why though?
I'm saying,
is Malik right?
A part of me genuinely thinks that, as we talked about last week, the Dart injury issue, if you again, I think it is a stretch to call it that. With the media cycle, some of even the Giants beat writers reporting on it, and a lot of them are close to the organization. The national media talking about how Dart's an injury risk, and we should.
What does that even
if
mean?
We get the number 1 overall pick, we should just take Mendoza. That is something that is circling. Like,
Andrew Thomas is more of a risk than Dart is, if you want to get real about it.
I think that reached Mara and some of his people, and they're terrified about. Again, I don't know if this is like something that would move forward into the future, like next season, or if it's just like, something they're concerned about for this season. But I think they might be telling Kafka, look, if you want us to even get, help you get a job elsewhere, you need to make sure Dart stays healthy for the rest of the year. So that way this is, again, remains an enticing job for potential GMs and coaches. Now, if a GM comes in and genuinely thinks like, hey, Dart's not, like he's too reckless, all this sort of stuff, I think that would potentially destroy the locker room. Like, this isn't Madden. This isn't a video game where you can just trade Dart for whatever and not have it affect the locker room. Like, Scatterbo and him, best friends. Him and Theo Johnson, sounds like very good friends. I don't know what his relationship with Malik Neighbors is, but we saw how hyped Neighbors got for him in the preseason. Like, clearly he is well liked in the locker room. He and Abdul Carter have the whole Anakin Darth Vader thing going on since they're both big Star Wars nerds.
Oh my God.
Like, there is clearly a connection that Dart has with these guys in the locker room. So just talking about like trading him, like, yeah, these guys are now professionals. They'll get over it. But that's still like, what would that say? What would that tell this organization about the new coach and the new GM? Like, this isn't Madden. So there has been a noticeable decrease, not even decrease, regression in Dart since Dable was fired. Now, we've only got like a couple of games to work off of for that. But like, I thought Dart struggled a bit, but was overall fine against the Patriots. But the last game that we saw Dable coach Dart in was the last game Dable coached, and that was Chicago. And that happened to be the only time Dart actually had a concussion, had an actual injury. And then we got Kafka calling plays and being the head coach for 2 games with Jameis. And then, Dart came back, and he just hasn't looked quite the same. Now, again, I think we've seen him run less. They've called less design runs for him. And again, I think it's just this cycle that's where we are not allowing Dart to reach his full potential. And that's really kind of spoken to me about like Shula and what's his name? Hayes and Minter. Like, I liked with the names that were put out there for this coaching search. I liked a lot of the Hafley, Shula, Hafley, and Minter were some of the top names. And I was like thinking to myself, like, what could they do with this defense, with these pieces? Dexter Lawrence, another year to get healthier and get back into it. Brian Burns coming off his career best year. He's probably going to be named an All-Pro. Abdul Carter's really seemingly put it together down the stretch. He had another very good game that makes 3 in a row here. What could they do with some of these pieces, especially if we attack the defense in the draft to shore up a lot of, the holes there in the secondary and the linebacking core? But now I'm thinking to myself, got to be an offensive mind.
Oh, wait a minute. Wait, what happened?
I've seen Dart regress, and I think an offensive mind, someone that like comes in because they believe in Dart the way Dable did, someone who comes in knowing what to do with a quarterback like Dart.
Now, okay,
I just don't see as many, like, there is no Ben Johnson. There is no offensive wonder kid, coming out this year. The closest thing that there is Kubiak. And I think it would be very interesting to see Kubiak because with what he's done in Seattle, with their running game and Sam Darnold to a lesser degree, like, I think that could be very interesting. There are a couple names out there that are not available right now. And quite honestly, I definitely don't think one of these names will be available. One of them might, but I really doubt both of them. Is Kevin O'Connell and Kevin Stefanski are both names that I'm very confused about the O'Connell one, but apparently there's some concerns, like same with LaFleur in Green Bay, where it's like there's like people that are kind of upset with them because of how much of a step back this year has been compared to expectations. Stefanski, is it finally his time there and in Cleveland? Like, is that done? Those are two, but those would be some interesting names. but neither one of them is technically available right now. So I'm going to continue this conversation under the assumption that they are not. But we need a guy that can help take Dart to the next level. We've seen what Drake, like, if Jackson Dart and the Giants are truly the next New England Patriots, where a couple really rough years, they finally get the first round quarterback. That quarterback has flashes in the regular season. The coaching staff is all let go. A new front office is put in place. A new head coach is brought in. And all of a sudden, they can turn things around. The new head coach brings in an offensive coordinator, and they're able to just get things right with the quarterback. Still have some clear holes, but all of a sudden now this is a playoff team. If Jackson Dart not even needs to be Drake May level good, but can just, with the right coaching, take that next step, all of a sudden we're not blowing 10-plus point leads in the fourth quarter. All of a sudden, we are able to just go out there, close out some of these games. Dart continues to progress. The team can get and stay healthier. Scatterbo's running through guys. Neighbors is getting open. And again, another thing that this game really proved to me that I'd been mostly on the side of, but still somewhat on the fence of where should we go with the first round? Go out there, draft Carnell Tate, draft Makai Lemon. Lennon, I think it's Lemon.
It's lemon, like the fruit.
Yeah, lemon, that's what I thought. But for some reason, when I said it, it felt like it rolled off the tongue weird. I'm like, wait, did I mess that up?
It's lemon. That's right.
Makai Lemon. Jordan Tyson's a bit I think Jordan Tyson is maybe the best of the three, but he has injury issues, and that scares me. But Carnell Tate is my number one wide receiver right now. If we can go out, get a guy like that to pair alongside Malik Neighbors, this is why it is so important for us to lose against the Raiders, lose against the Cowboys to close out the year. We need that first overall pick to trade back. Maybe if the Bills just have nothing to play for in week 18, maybe they rest their guys. The Jets get that win. All of a sudden now the Jets are at 5 or 6. If we can just trade back this pick, accumulate assets, just put ourselves in the best possible position moving forward. I really do think the right coaching staff, the pieces are here. We are not the Titans where you look at draft needs and it's everything. I truly don't think we are that far away. I do the number one seed in the AFC is the Denver Broncos. We had a historic collapse against them, but we should have beaten them. One of the top 3 seeds in the NFC, Chicago Bears. We were beating them, blew another lead in the fourth quarter. We were right there in so many of these games. We are closer than I think a lot of people think we are. But we just need the right pieces to put it together. And that starts with the front office. That starts with the coaching staff. But if we can get the number 1 overall pick, be the most enticing destination possibly in recent years of any team, with the pieces we have, with the assets that we will have, with the quarterback seemingly already in place, I think we are right there. And I think a guy like Kubiak could be the answer for us.
All right. Well, when you go on long like that, I have multiple points I have to try to remember. My memory is not that great. I don't know why you torture me like this. But it's just the thing that I feel like it's the whole thing about Dart being traded. I just cringe when I hear that. I'm like, what are we talking about? This is it's just like trying to get a house and you haven't seen it. All you saw was a picture. You didn't see the actual house. Nobody feels comfortable buying that house. Mendoza is a house you haven't seen in the NFL. You see him in Indiana, but you haven't seen it in the so-called pro-style offense, but you haven't seen him in the NFL. You've seen Dart. You've seen what he can do, and you mentioned all the relationships, all the things that are kind of already begin to take shape and very positive for the team's future. Why are we even talking about that? And it just reminds me about the fact that we can't trust these New York Giant publications, these so-called
WFAN.
That's just one. I'm talking about the other ones too. I'm not gonna name them. I'm gonna give them no credit on this podcast, but most of them are no more than clickbait. They're the main one talking about we should trade Dart to who, for that matter, and take Mendoza at one. That kind of stuff. It really speaks to the worst of the worst part of the Giants fan base. And we got some seedy characters out there who just I don't know how I can say they're really Giants fans because they're negative. They haven't been. They were negative the day after the Super Bowl. I remember these jokers. They had nothing good to say. Well, about a week after the Super Bowl, they had nothing but negativity to say. You just won the doggone Super Bowl in surprising and historic fashion against a juggernaut, against Tom Brady, who was considered the GOAT in the New England Patriots. And they still had something negative to say, a whole bunch of negative to say. These kind of publications speak to that kind of stuff. So I ignore that kind of stuff. I don't expect it to be traded now at quarterback. I don't care who comes in. I think they have to understand that Dart is our quarterback. Make it work. At least give it a try for 3 years. If you don't think it's working in your tenure, then consider moving on, go into the draft, and get somebody you really want. Hopefully not Archie Manning, but whatever. So for me, I'm not really getting where some of that stuff is coming from. Honestly, it's just been so many things I saw in the offense recently that it's really giving me a lot of pause. But bottom line is that Dart's best friend couldn't catch passes just yesterday. The O-line was depleted, like you said. It was just a nightmare. But I'm questioning one thing you said. I want to kind of get into it a little bit. I'm trying to figure out why we don't think that you can bring in a guy like Hafley. Just for example, he's the guy I thought was the best of the defensive bunch. I could be wrong on that. I don't know everything. But have a OC guy that come in, a real competent OC guy that can help Dart with his development. I don't understand why that's not possible, because right now we don't even see it. We don't have even a list of OCs, because I think we wouldn't even see it until a head coach gets hired, I guess. It seems that's kind of the pattern. When the head coach is hired, then you start seeing the list of the OCs and DCs that are available. You don't see it before that, it feels like. But I haven't seen a list of that at all. I don't know who's out there. Those guys that could help Dart really develop might be available. And we can still have Hafley as our defensive-minded head coach, and we need it because the level of talent and potential that we got in the defense that we're not really capitalizing on, it's ridiculous, man. We got to make that thing turn. We got to turn that thing around. So I'm not really against having. I mean, conversely, we do the same thing. Get an OC-minded coach, like you said, a guy like I guess like a McCarthy, which is not. I'm not a super fan. McCarthy, Kubiak is not a name I'm against at all. Kingsbury, I suppose. I just kind of just feel like I don't know if I can trust him as a head coach. Everybody has to kind of have to learn and kind of take their chances and figure stuff out. So especially if you're a first-time coach like these guys are, because all of those except McCarthy are first-time head coaches potentially. So it's like you don't know what you're gonna get. But we can do that in that reverse of your scenario and get a DC that is just able to galvanize that D line. It's not impossible. That's what their job is. That's what coordinator jobs are for. So I don't know. It's a tough question that you asked offline. Should we get an offensive-minded coach or a defensive-minded coach? Honestly, I really don't know the answer. If you guys are watching, listening, and you're Giants fans, you tell us what's the best route for us as a team where we are right now. Get an offensive-minded coach or a defensive-minded coach. Bring your arguments along with your answers, and we can kind of determine, what makes most sense. I mean, yes, we're going to keep on kind of flowing through, because honestly, I don't know the answer right now. I don't know which one is best for us based on where we've been at. Historically, defensive-minded head coaches have been better for us. It kind of leaned into who we were as far as identity goes. But like we talked about last week, if our identity is changing and we're not doing that anymore, and we're going to a high-powered offense, if that's what we're doing, then a defensive-minded coach might not be the best route here. We might need an offensive-minded coach who, kind of sees things from all angles and helps us to increase our scoring in a league that seems to be doing that across the board. So does that make sense? What do you think about that? Are you pretty solid that we need to have an offensive-minded coach now, or you kind of split down the middle a little bit?
I'm still split. I'm leaning more offense than I am defense now, just because
60-40?
Yeah, I'd say 60-40. Like, again, like if we bring in a Shula or a Halfley or a Minter, I would not be upset about that, but I don't know what Morrow wants,
None of us know.
Is he scared? Is he going to be scared to continue looking outside the family, essentially? Like, he's like, oh, we tried it and it was a disaster. If we finish with 2 years, that'll be what was the two worst seasons in Giants history to end things. Schoen will be gone. Dave will be gone. We're cleaning house. Is he then going to just go back to the safe space of familiar names like a Lou Anarumo, Steve Spagnuolo? Again, while I wouldn't love it, I wouldn't hate it as much with the McCarthy. Like, I think and the interesting name right now is Marcus Freeman. And apparently that is the interest there is real. I like the theoretical idea of what Marcus Freeman would bring. I just don't think it's going to be, I don't think it would work. The whole idea around the Marcus Freeman thing is that he is a leader of men. He is able to rally. The people he coaches love him. He's clearly got the Notre Dame locker room on, like hitting on all cylinders. It's the idea is that he is this young leader of men who could be the coach for the Giants for theoretically the next 20, 30, 40 years or whatever, and we would get this guy who's a young mind with young ideas, but is also, the Dan Campbell type of motivator and team rallier. But there is such a difference between coaching college and coaching the NFL. Forget even the schematic differences of the speed, and even the hash marks are different and all of that sort of stuff. There are little rule changes from even how you can run an RPO for it. Just forget those differences. There is a difference between leading a bunch of 18 to at most 24-year-olds and being a leader in the locker room of guys that are 30 to 38. You've got the young guys and then you got the older guys. Like, I don't even remember how old Marcus Freeman is, but depending on his age, some of the guys in some of these locker rooms might be older than him.
He's 39 years old.
There are guys in this league who are older than him. Now, he is a little older than I thought. I thought he was closer to 35, but I guess that would still be, he's still older than anyone on the Giants outside of Graham Gano, who might not even be here by the time he really gets into the room to be coaching things. But, how do they respond to that? All of a sudden, now he's not juggling NIL money. He's juggling NFL money. There's just a difference there. And it's not something that I necessarily really want to take a risk on. A lot of the times when these guys come from college to the NFL, like Pete Carroll's really the only one that I can remember really working out. A guy who was a college coach and then went to the NFL. But if I'm remembering correctly, I think Pete Carroll was NFL, then back to college, then back to the NFL. So Freeman has no NFL experience. So my number one name right now is Kubiak. Number two is Shula, because I think if he were to bring in an OC, it would be someone else from the Sean McVay coaching tree. And I really like what they do offensively. But yeah, that's where I stand.
Well, just for context, it's hard to believe that Marcus Freeman is the leading candidate. I feel like
I don't know if he's leading, but he's one of the fair. He made that top 5 list.
These are not my words, just to be clear. I'm reading this and I'm telling you this. He's one of the leading. I don't see that. All the names that we named, because we're a franchise that needs stability. That's clearly been seen. Coaching staff has been a turnstile for many, many years now. but just for context, he finished 10-2 this year, narrowly missing the college football playoffs. 38-10 record overall. In the postseason, he's got a 5-2 record, so he's successful in what he does. Him being a leader of men, like you mentioned, very, very important, especially in the NFL ranks. But I don't know about the leading candidate part. If I had to put him in the list, he's probably going to be somewhere in 7 and 8, if that much. And a lot of guys I like ahead of him. I even like McCarthy ahead of him, just because of the NFL experience. But he's seen a championship, so it's not like he doesn't know how to win. Because he did it over the Cowboys. I feel like that he was a little bit of a scapegoat out there. Not to praise our division rivals, but I think he was a scapegoat a little bit with things that happened, and it wasn't really his fault. A lot of it was Jones getting in his own way, and then some stuff on the field personnel. So I think that McCarthy still has the ability to lead a winning team and turn a franchise around. I think he can do that, but he's not high on my list either. I like Shula, but I said I like him number one like you. I love Minter for a lot of reasons. He's not even number one for me either. I think I like Halfley up there if we're looking at defensive-minded coaches. If we're not doing that and we're trying to go for a different route, I love pulling from the quote-unquote Sean McVay coaching tree. I think that we can use that kind of stuff. I ain't saying we're going to be the greatest show on turf, but it'll be really good to have some high-powered offenses in New York, because it's something we don't see very often. As a matter of fact, I'm not sure the last time we've seen that. We have a little anomaly. We had these big scoring games. We did that this year under Jackson Dart, but it was like 35-point games. So it's like, I think even a 40-point game, I think too. So we've done it in spurts, but consistently we can't do that. And all the other teams, well, the majority of the teams are ramping up their offensive prowess. We got to match that. Either we're going to shut them down defensively so they don't score as much, or we're going to outscore them. I feel like we need to have the ability to do both because of who we may play each week. We need to have that ability. So what kind of coach did that get you? Offensive-minded, defensive-minded? I still don't know. But I like the Shula name. I like the Halfley name as an option. I like the Kubiak idea. I'm hesitant about the Kingsbury for the reasons that I already mentioned already. I don't think I feel super confident about that. I think it boiled down to what's John Mara going to do in the offseason. Like you said, we have no idea what he's thinking. All this stuff about Marcus Freeman, where's that coming from? Is that coming from Mara or is it coming from Schoen? I feel like it's probably coming from Schoen. If he's somebody who's not going to be around, then what's the point of all this stuff? So it's like, if you're going to be the GM, why do this? So I'm really anxious a little bit to see what happens when we get to that last game and we know it's already going to be shut down. We know we're not going to the playoffs. It's over. People are going to be cleaning lockers out for the final time. People are going to be trying to figure out their housing situations and all that kind of stuff. I think he needs to be one of them because I want to find out where we starting with. I want Shane to bring people in that he wouldn't be around to see play and coach. So I want us to make quick movements there and get in the guys that you want to have there, or are you opening up the GM spot for GM free agency, if you will? I don't know what we're doing there, but I kind of feel like we're in a hurry. Did that make sense? I feel like we don't have a lot of time to really mess around here. You got the head coaching search is already heating up already. We already become a destination. Got all these coaches who are putting their names in the hat. Say, I would love to do that. Even unnamed guys that won't say anything. Why they being anonymous? Because they're on somebody else's team right now still. That's why. And they say, you know what? I love to be in New York with that defense and that offensive core. I'd love to be a coach in that team. That'd be a dream come true. And he's saying words like that. So you got that going over there. You got the GM that's in question. It seemed to be an uncomfortable situation. So we'll get to that as we move on a little further in the club. I want to get into a few other things. Do you want to talk about the defense a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, it was another big day for Abdul Carter. Again, one of these enticing pieces for any coaching candidate, especially, some of the more defensive-minded guys. I think over the past 3 games, he's had something like 14 tackles, 3 sacks, 4 tackles for loss, 2 forced fumbles. He's closed out on lanes really well. On the, I think it was on the Brian Burns forced fumble. Either it was a screen or there was a screen option to the passing attack. He saw that, recognized it, got in front of it, forced McCarthy to hold the ball a little bit longer, which allowed Brian Burns to come in, crack him, just force the ball out, and we scooped and we scored. But we continue to have these issues with third and long, and this has been an issue all year. We might be the worst third and long defense in NFL history. We allowed 3rd and 11, 3rd and 12, 3rd and 14, 3rd and 10. We had them in like 3rd and 16, gave up 14 yards and then let them get it on 4th and 2. Like, it was just, the defense will play well and then suck. And it's, what is going on? How does this keep happening? How have we not fixed this? Like, it's one thing if for the first couple of weeks, it's like, okay, there's clearly.
And you wonder why you have to have a defensive-minded coach? You wonder why? Look at what you're saying.
And what you're saying about a high-powered offense, theoretically, we get the right defensive coordinator in there with Kubiak or whomever.
He's not Charlie Boone, that's for sure. He's not. And all
of a sudden, it's stirred up. Like, it gets to a point where I don't know if it's a coaching issue. I don't know if it's a personnel issue. Like, is it that our safeties and our linebackers just aren't closing off fast enough? Like, I don't know what it is, which is why, like, I think one of the things, like, if we get a defensive-minded coach, we have to draft a wide receiver like a Carnell Tate in the first round. But if we can get the first overall pick, trade back with the Jets, get the Jets pick this year, which will probably be somewhere between 4 and 6.
Why we assessed with the Jets being the one that we trade back to?
Because, and I'll tell you why in a second. And
better offer some other people. But go ahead.
Well, because, and I'll tell you why in a second. Because with the Jets specifically, we get their first round pick this year. We get the Colts' first round pick this year. Then we would get probably a second round pick this year. And we then probably also get a first round pick next year, at least. A package like that is very much on the table.
And that's not even the best one that we saw when we did the mock draft together 2 weeks ago. We saw one that was better than that you liked a lot more. Remember?
No, the Jets one was my favorite. The other one that I considered was the Browns one.
That was not true. Okay, go ahead.
Well, maybe at the time that we did it, maybe the Browns one or something like that was just as enticing. But as of right now, the Colts are free fall. The Colts probably lose tonight and then lose out, meaning they miss the playoffs. The other teams where we could hypothetically get another first round pick were either like the Browns, where the other pick is the Jags pick, which is going to be a playoff pick. So it's going to be potentially much further back, depending on how far the Jags make it. We could trade back with the Rams, in which case we'd be getting Atlanta's first round pick this year, which will probably be closer to 8 to 12 than 4 to 6. And then we'd get the Rams first round pick, and then we might get a first round pick next year, but that would be the Rams pick, and we expect them to be good. Like I said, with the Browns, and then there would be the Cowboys. But actually, I don't think they have a first round pick an extra first round pick anymore, because I think they gave that up for Quinn Williams. So if we wanted an extra first round pick this year, to draft Carnell Tate at wherever, in the top 10, and then, let's address linebacker, draft a Sonny Styles. Let's draft a corner, Mansour Dulane. Offensive lineman. If we want to go into the interior, there's Ione out of Penn State.
Mm-hmm.
There are options here, but we're going to need a second first round pick this year, which is why I think the Jets are the most enticing one, because they will have the 2 highest combined, picks there, as well as more than enough future assets to add even more to the package, as it were.
We both went up.
So I don't know if that makes sense, if I just rambled on saying a whole bunch of nothing.
Well, you went out for a little bit, so some of your nothing was really nothing because I don't think any of us heard it because you went out completely. All right, so
I'm a bit rambly today.
You're rambly every day, but I love you, man. But yeah, so this is interesting. I'm not really sure. That's in the Jets offering is not good. Just like there's so many other factors that we haven't seen yet. Like I mentioned, the Dante Moore impact. Because I mentioned, I think the last week that we talked about this was the week after our draft, so it had to be last week. I mentioned how there was maybe, I think I mentioned like 5 or 4 or 5, between 4 and 16 that we didn't know for sure we needed to have a quarterback. And some of them were not even in the upper echelon of the first round, so they have to move up in order to get that. So I'm sitting here like, okay, I know that you were thrilled about Dante Moore, but I think that his stock is rising. And what he does in the next couple of weeks or so is going to determine whether it rises to the level of a place where a team wants to move up to get him. That puts us in a good spot, even if we're not at the number 1 pick, but you never know. With next week, we never know what's going to happen. It's kind of hard to tell. But if we're in the top 5, I think we still have some leverage. Maybe not trade with the Jets type leverage, but we still got leverage with a team who wants to get up there and get either Mendoza or Moore, whoever is available at the time. Honestly, man, I'd love for you to make an argument for or against some other guys that you don't ever mention in the wide receiving core, because I feel like if we do drop down, you probably can still get Carnell Tate, maybe, if you like him in the top 5. I think it's possible. I'm not even sure that him or Tyson will even be in the top 5. I'm not even really sure about that. We can look at mocks and big boards all day long, but at the end of the day, I mean, I seen Reese at the number 1 spot for the first time ever today. That never happened in all the months I've been watching it, all the weeks I've been watching this. So I see Ruben Bain up there for number 1 forever, and now all of a sudden he's not there anymore. So it's constantly fluid. It's always changing. So you never know. Even after his game the other day, you can decide if his draft stock went up or down or not based on that Miami game. But guys like Denzel Boston, been watching him for a little bit. Guys like Lane, these are guys whose draft stock is rising real quick. And these are guys that you're not naming. Brazil out of Tennessee. A third guy you don't name very much. You mentioned Tyson and Lemon. And I think those are the main guys that you have been talking about. But and Tate, excuse me. So Tyson, Jordan Tyson, Carnell Tate, and Mekhi Lemon. But guys like Boston and Brazil and Lane, when I look at the measurables and I look at height, reach, all that kind of stuff, these guys are they measure up very, very well, very comparable to the other guys. It's just a matter of how they fit in certain offenses. If your offense is a timing-based passing game, some guys like a Denzel Boston, they'll fit right in. He's very good at route running. He's I won't say elite, but he's very, very good at contested catching. Brazil's one of those guys that he understands, he's not using his height to his advantage. I mean, he's kind of like he's compared to a guard playing center in basketball. Weird comparison, but kind of like that. He knows how to use his body to get leverage. Jacoby Lane has some of the measurables as well. It just his 40 time is a little bit less than almost everybody else, but he understands what he does as far as using his 6'4" frame. I mean, you got guys, man, that we get the opposite Malik. That's not a downgrade. That's still a good thing. And if we get too low in the trade back potentially, we might have to look at guys like that. How do you feel about a Boston or Brazil or Lane, just for example?
I wouldn't mind really any of them. The reason why I'm a little lower on Mekhi Lemon compared to the other in the top 3 is the size.
Yeah.
He's not undersized by any mean. He is 5'11". He's like 190, 200 pounds. Like Makai Lemon, Casey Concepcion, however he pronounces it. Even a guy like Jeremy Bernard out of Alabama. These guys are all around 5'11", 6 foot. They remind me size-wise a bit, they're similar to Malik Neighbors. I want a guy that's a bit bigger, that can go up and get the ball, who can play with size and leverage, knows how to box out, put them on the back, hit with their route running, and really just maneuver the defender as he wants them to be moved. Carnell Tate is exceptional at that. He's an exceptional route runner. He's a bit faster than you would expect a guy at 6'3" to be. But a guy like a Boston, who's 6'4", 210. Chris Bell, 6'2", 220. Chris Basil is 6'5", 200. These are guys that are a bit bigger. Now, Chris Bell, I believe, is coming off an ACL. I don't know if we want to go that route. Elijah Sarrett.
That's why they mention him.
Elijah Sarrett out of Indiana is another guy who's 6'2", 210. Jacoby Lane, guy you mentioned, 6'4", 200. There are plenty of options here. Right now, according to Tankathon, Jacoby Lane is a back of the second round pick. That's where they have him going.
And I'm not totally sure why, but I get that. I like Boston and Brazil a lot more, so I named them first. But I get that. If Boston and Brazil, if we get them in the first round,
they would be back end of the first right now. I think that's where most people have them going.
Yeah.
Again, that can all change once a combine is done, and we get a lot of the interviews. We're really gonna see there.
Yeah.
But I do think Dante Moore, going back a bit to what you were bringing up earlier, I think Dante Moore is going to essentially make or break how the first round plays out. Because if Dante Moore chooses to go back to college and Ty Simpson also decides to go back to college, but I think much more Dante Moore, Fernando Mendoza will be the only first round graded quarterback this year. And I truly believe that. No other quarterback right now, I think, is even being considered in the first round. It's him and Dante Moore. Ty Simpson was at one point and now isn't because of his slump of play in the middle.
Towards now is again, according to what I read yesterday, and now he's being considered again, making a push. I'm like, all right.
It's a we're football fans are very reactive. I don't. So but he did have a strong, essentially second quarter on against Oklahoma, and that was a very good defense he played against. But at the end of the day, I think Dante Moore is going to have a much larger impact because all of a sudden, if Dante Moore chooses to go back to college and Fernando Mendoza is the only first round graded quarterback, the only guy that's considered that blue chip quarterback prospect, whoever holds that number one overall pick, oh boy, did that thing's value just go up. Because now a team like the Raiders or the Jets, or if the Browns want it, Cardinals want it, all of a sudden now there's only one. So how much are you willing to give up? What are you willing to give up is the question. And now a team can't be like, look, yeah, we like Mendoza, but we really like Moore too. We can afford to wait and trade to 3 or something like that. There's none of that. It is just whoever holds the first overall pick holds the golden ticket. And even though Fernando Mendoza would not be comparable to as a prospect to the likes of Caleb Williams or Drake May or any of some other top tier guys, in my opinion, in recent years, when you're the only one, you're valuable. So Dante Moore's decision, I think, will really shape how this draft goes.
It really depends on what teams want. And honestly, I know we don't have enough time to get into that. Maybe we can put that on the docket for the next time we get together. what are the teams like the Browns and the Jets and I blinked out the Raiders and I'm missing somebody else. Browns, Jets, Raiders, and oh wow, blinked out. But whoever that is, the other team that needs a quarterback as well. What are they looking for in a quarterback? What do they want? What kind of quarterback are they looking for? Because that makes a big difference. If you want somebody who just probably a pure passer, Dante Moore probably the best quarterback in the draft for that. You know what I'm saying? Mendoza's that West Coast guy, and he just and Ty Simpson is, I guess, the one because he plays at Alabama. I hear that every time an Alabama quarterback comes out, how he's most ready for the pros. Played in the pro style offense for 2 or 3 years, so now he's the most pro ready is the word they use. It's like, okay, Jalen Milroe was the most pro ready, and they said it all in all the draft evaluations, and now he's the most pro ready on that bench behind Sam Darnold. So it doesn't mean anything, not in theory anyway. So unless Sam Darnold gets hurt, it doesn't mean anything. So Simpson seems to be rising up in the ranks. But what kind of quarterback are they looking for? What do they want somebody? Does it just want somebody like Mendoza or want somebody more like Moore? I can probably guess that because of who's coaching them. I probably can assume the answer to that question. But the Browns, I have no idea because they have a horrible quarterback track record, and I can't really tell what they're looking for or what they're trying to accomplish. So that's why I can't answer there. But maybe we can get into that. But honestly, for us, I know that quarterback is not our issue. We need wide receivers, so we're doing that for sure in the draft. O-line and wide receiver probably could be our biggest focuses, I would guess. I feel like linebacker has to be addressed, but it's going to be addressed with the top pick. I'm not sure how comfortable I feel with that. I don't know where you stand with that, but we got to address linebacker for sure throughout the draft and or free agency. But any of the last closing thoughts, man, or opinions before we get out of here, man? What you thinking?
I'm thinking we really need to lose to the Raiders.
I know, man. But you want to put all the starters out there. I'm like, here's one thing. Because we know about Tay Banks, just no offense to Banks. I'm sorry, man, but he just not. I said this like I don't know how many months ago it was. I got a little pushback from you. I'm like, he's just not good. He's just. I don't mean the head. I'm talking about period. When he gets inside, then he becomes a liability immediately. Thank God for 7th round Corey Black to come in and bring stability. The 7th round selection brings stability at that position because he couldn't do it as a veteran. He's just not good. So if he plays a lot of minutes, that'll help us to get what we're looking for. If he plays, that'll help us out a whole lot. I don't know what else can help us to accomplish the goal that you have. I don't know, because you said you believe Dart's going to be in there. I pretty much agree with that. If Winston comes in, we have as good of a chance to win with that. So that's not the issue. I'm concerned about the other pieces. Probably on the defensive side, probably could be the key to the game, how the defense plays. So you don't want to put no reserves in. You want to put all the starters in. I don't know what's going to happen, man, but I hope we do lose that because I'm sure we're going to lose against the Cowboys because they're going to be fired up to beat us, and I don't see us stopping Lamb and Pickens. Just don't see it. I don't see anybody that we got on the roster that's going to be able to do it. Those guys are, give all respect where credit's due, man. When they're playing and they're rolling, those boys is rolling. And Javonte Williams, formerly the former Bronco, that man is running on everybody. He's running hard and angry. I think he's working towards a contract because right now I don't think he has one coming up after this season. So he's running hard. And if our defense looked the way it has recently, bottom 5, they're saying, Williams are going to run all over. So that's going to be an automatic L, which is good for our draft stock. But the Raiders one, that's been the challenges for me. Are we going to beat the Raiders and why? Are we going to lose to the Raiders and how? How is it going to happen? What's going to happen
to the Raiders? It's because their defensive line feasts on our injured and battered offensive line, and if we beat them, it's because, well, we do have talent. As we said to start this, we do have talent, and the Raiders just don't have much.
We didn't get into this before, but maybe we can just take a few minutes to touch it now. But think about this: we both want the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
That's what makes this game so peculiar. I mean, you couldn't script it any better. They want the number one pick because at number two, they don't have a whole lot of leverage to get the guy that they want, which I think is Mendoza, especially because he has these West Coast connections, as well as just the kind of offense that he played in. I think he's the Raiders pick. I don't think it's a big secret, but it's hard to get him from two. But from one, you're assured you can get the guy you want without any hindrances, and you can, without any obstruction, you can get the guy you want. But how do you do that? You go out there and win the game. You can't. So I think the Raiders don't want to win either, right? To get who you want. So what are they going to put out there to make sure that they don't win the game? What are we going to do? Because we don't want to. Do we want to win it? I know you and I want, but do the Giants want to win that game?
The Giants absolutely want to win that game. The Giants want to win that game. The people in the front office, the people in the locker room, on the coaching staff, they want to win. You and I know that, objectively speaking, for the long-term future, it is most likely, barring some, we just cut Jalen Hyde. We signed this random guy off the practice squad, and he ends up becoming Jerry Rice and Randy Moss combined. Like something like that is not happening. Like, we're not discovering something new in some guy that now makes the roster and is just this unbelievable difference maker. Like, there's no Disney movie discovery going on in week 17 of the NFL season here. Nothing like that. Our Kurt Warner ain't coming in week 17, so it's not, barring something like that happening, there is nothing I personally believe the Giants can gain from winning this game outside of pride and professional standing. But that's all the guys in the locker room care about. They have to win so they can earn, bonuses in their contract. They have to hit certain stats and to get more money. They want to
be fun.
They don't like losing, and it's completely understandable. But again, as we said much earlier in the pod, when you remove that from it and you just look at, okay, what will be best for the team moving forward? It's to just suck it up, lose this game, get the number one overall pick. That's what needs to happen.
This will be fun.
This is going to be a terrible game to watch.
I probably won't be able to see it based on who's playing. So I'll be trying to follow this in some weird way because, it's going to be fun for me. But where we are and how you listen to this podcast, thanks again for making us a part of your football discussions. You can find us on YouTube, Facebook, and of course, on all the listening platforms. Thanks again for watching and listening to the Big Blue Lifers podcast. That's Jess. I'm Mr. U. We talk all things New York Football Giants, and we bleed blue, baby.